She was a phantom in first class, an apparition of worn fabric and quiet defiance. The snickers rippled across the aisle as Maya Rosales drew her threadbare hoodie over her head, sinking into the plush leather of seat 12C. To the polished, preening passengers of the red-eye from London to New York, she was an anomaly, a smudge on their pristine canvas of wealth and influence. But in the hours that followed, as the aircraft sliced through the inky blackness at 36,000 feet, a single, desperate question crackled over the intercom, shattering their gilded peace. "Is there a pilot on board?" Panic, cold and sharp, flooded the cabin. No one moved. Then Maya's eyes opened. She rose, a specter of calm in the chaos, and with a voice that cut through the fear, she uttered the 6 words that would freeze them all. "I flew F-18s. Take me to the cockpit." In that moment, the chilling truth began to dawn. Night Viper 12, the legendary pilot the world believed was dead, was very much alive, and she was on their flight. The business class cabin was a microcosm of quiet power. Men in bespoke suits conducted silent symphonies on their laptops. Women draped in silk scrolled through curated lives on glowing screens. In the back, Senator Davenport nursed a bourbon, his gaze sweeping the cabin with practiced authority. And by the window sat Maya, a stark contrast in faded jeans and scuffed sneakers. The frayed laces a testament to miles walked in a world far from this one. Her gray hoodie, thin at the cuffs, hung loosely on her frame. No makeup graced her features, and her dark hair was corralled into a messy bun, tendrils escaping like rebellious thoughts. A pair of cheap gas station earbuds dangled around her neck. She looked like she had stumbled to the wrong curtain, and the cabin's elite noticed. Their glances were scalpels, dissecting her presence, offended by her intrusion into their exclusive bubble. In seat 12B, a little girl named Sophia, her hair in bright pigtails, was diligently coloring a winged horse, her crayons a rainbow spill on the tray table. Her mother, Clara, adorned with a pearl necklace that whispered of generational wealth, kept a strained, polite smile plastered on her face. When Sophia's water cup tipped, splashing a cold stream onto Maya's sleeve, Clara gasped. "Oh, darling, be careful," she chirped, dabbing at Maya's hoodie with a napkin. The apology was a fleeting thing, her eyes flicking over Maya's worn clothes, her lips tightening into a fine line of disapproval. Across the aisle, Julian Croft, a businessman whose pinstripes screamed ambition, leaned towards his younger colleague. Leo, a man whose worth was broadcast by the Rolex on his wrist. "She looks more like she belongs in shelter than in first class," Julian murmured, his voice a low, carrying sneer. Leo chuckled, a sound devoid of warmth. "Must have used points. No way she paid for the seat." Maya didn't flinch. She simply pulled the damp sleeve of her hoodie closer, her fingers tracing the worn fabric as she turned toward the dark window. Her breathing remained slow and even, a calm sea over a turbulent depth. But beneath the seat, her hand tightened on the strap of her small backpack, a flicker of tension in her otherwise still form. Ben, the flight attendant with a smile as starched as his uniform, passed by. His eyes snagged on Maya's cheap earbuds and a muscle in his brow twitched, a micro-expression that screamed, "You don't belong here." Clara leaned towards her daughter, her voice a soft but pointed whisper. "She's fine, sweetie. Just resting." Sophia, her crayon paws, whispered back, "Why is her jacket so old?" Clara shushed her, but the question hung in the air, thick and uncomfortable. A row ahead, a man with slick-back hair and a spreadsheet-filled laptop turned to his companion, a woman dripping in diamonds. "I bet she's a charity case," he muttered. "Some airline giveaway for the less fortunate." The woman smirked, her earrings flashing like cruel stars. That would explain the sneakers. They looked like they'd been through a war. Their laughter was a quiet poison, seeping into the cabin's hum. Maya's fingers found a small, faded patch sewn on the side of her backpack. A pair of wings crossed with a sword, a symbol invisible to the uninitiated. She pressed her shoulder against the cool glass of the window, her face receding further into the shadows of her hood. The cabin lights dimmed and the passengers, cocooned in their ignorance, settled in, oblivious of the weight of that patch and the history it carried. The judgment was a contagion. Isabella Vance, a socialite with a million followers, smirked at her seatmate, a tech CEO named Ethan Reed. "I bet she's in the wrong section," she whispered. "Look at those sneakers." Ethan, sipping his wine, nodded. "Someone should tell her this isn't Coach," he said, his voice oozing amusement. Sophia, however, saw something different. She kept stealing glances at Maya, her coloring book clutched in her small hands. "She's nice, Mommy," she whispered to Clara. She didn't even get mad about the water. Clara forced another smile, but her gaze on Maya was now a cocktail of pity and unease. Then, a sudden jolt of turbulence shook the plane. Drinks sloshed and nervous gasps filled the air. The moment passed. Julian Croft went back to his emails. Isabella snapped a selfie, capturing the cabin's luxury for her followers. Senator Davenport took another sip of bourbon, his eyes scanning the faces of his fellow passengers. Maya remained still, her fingers tapping a silent, rhythmic beat on her armrest, a steady, practiced cadence, like a pilot running through a pre-flight checklist. A man in a linen suit, tanned and loud, leaned across to Julian. "You think she's one of those budget travelers who snuck up here," he boomed. Julian smirked. "Probably. Look at that backpack. I've seen better at a thrift store." The laughter spread. Maya's tapping stopped. She reached down, pulling her backpack closer, and for a fleeting moment, a tiny metal jet keychain, no bigger than a quarter, glinted in the dim light before she tucked it away. Then the world tilted. "Attention! This is your captain. We require immediate medical or piloting assistance. Is there a pilot on board?" The words sliced through the cabin's complacent hum. Chaos bloomed. Julian Croft's laptop slammed shut, his face ashen. Isabella Donovan's phone clattered to the floor. Senator Davenport set his glass down, his jaw a hard line of tension. "Is there a doctor or a pilot here?" Ben shouted, his voice cracking with a panic that mirrored the passengers. "Anyone, please?" Silence. The air grew thick with fear. Then, in 12C, Maya stirred, her eyes open, calm and focused. She sat up, pulling her hoodie down. With deliberate movements, she unzipped her backpack, retrieved a small, folded piece of paper, and tucked it into her pocket. Then she stood. Julian Croft scoffed loudly. "Don't tell me she thinks she can help." Isabella let out a sharp, hysterical laugh. "That girl? She probably can't even drive a car." "Don't make things worse, sweetheart," Ethan condescended, his gold watch glinting. A man red-faced from wine stood to block her path. "Sit down, kid," he slurred. "You're going to make this worse." Maya stopped. She didn't speak, but her gaze was a physical force, steady and unyielding. The man faltered, his drunken bravado evaporating under her silent scrutiny, and stepped back. As she moved past him, Ben, the flight attendant, hesitated. "Ma'am, please, we need someone qualified." From 2 rows back, a corporate lawyer named Eleanor Vance chimed in. She slept through the whole flight, and now she wants to be a hero? Cruel laughter rippled through the seats. Maya ignored them all. She looked directly at Ben, her voice low, yet it carried to the stunned cabin with absolute authority. "I flew F-18s. Take me to the cockpit." The cabin fell silent. Jaws dropped. In the back, an older man, Marcus, a retired Marine, shot to his feet, his voice trembling with a reverence that silenced all doubt. "That's a Navy jet," he breathed. "Only naval aviators fly those." Ben, his face a mask of shock, nodded quickly. "This way." The crowd parted. The cockpit was a tableau crisis. The captain was slumped in his seat, unconscious. The co-pilot, a young man named David, gripped the controls, his knuckles white. He looked at Maya, his eyes raking over her hoodie and sneakers with disbelief. "You?" A civilian woman. From outside the door, the passengers' panic leaked through. "Don't put our lives in her hands." Eleanor Vance shrieked. "If she messes up, we all die." "You sure you know what you're doing?" David asked, his voice laced with skepticism. Maya didn't answer. She slid into the captain's seat, her hands moving over the controls with familiarity that was both unnerving and deeply reassuring. Her fingers brushed a small, worn ring on her left hand, a silent, anchoring touch. A memory flared. A sun-scorched airbase, The roar jets, a younger Maya in a flight suit, her call sign stitched over her heart. Night Viper 12. You're the best we've got, Rosales, her commanding officer had said. Then the mission, the explosion, the official report, killed in action. She had walked away from that life, burying the medals and the name. But the sky, it seemed, had a long memory. Her hands moved with instinctual grace. The plane steadied. David stared, his mouth agape, as if seeing her for the first time. The plane lurched again, and the passengers screamed. Maya's eyes remained locked on the instruments. She keyed the radio, her voice impossibly calm. This is Night Viper 12, requesting clearance. The response from air traffic control was a stunned, frantic crackle. Night Viper 12? Impossible. You were declared Kia 5 years ago. David's head snapped towards her. Outside, the passengers fell silent. Marcus, the Marine, whispered to his seatmate, "She's a ghost." The radar screen flashed red, a monstrous storm cloud dead ahead. The plane began to shake violently. "I don't believe her," Julian Croft shouted, pushing toward the cockpit. "She's a fraud. Better to pray than to trust her," Isabella added, her voice shrill. Ben blocked the door, his own fear warring with a newfound faith. "Stay back. Let her work." Sweat beaded on Maya's brow, but her hands were rock steady. Her eyes narrowed, finding a razor-thin path through the storm's fury. Her fingers danced across the controls with a precision that left David speechless with awe. Through the rising panic, Sophia's small voice cut through the noise. "She's gonna save us, Mommy. I know it." The plane dipped, then climbed, threading the needle through the storm. The turbulence eased, then vanished. The aircraft burst free into a calm, clear sky. A beat of stunned silence, and then the cabin erupted in a wave of cheers and relieved sobs. "Miss, you saved us," Sophia shouted, clapping wildly from her seat. David leaned towards Maya, his voice low with reverence. "How did you do that?" Maya didn't answer. She just kept flying, her lips pressed into a tight, firm line as she guided the plane toward the nearest airport. The landing was flawless, a gentle kiss on the tarmac that belied the chaos of the preceding hour. As the cabin exploded in applause, Maya unbuckled her seatbelt and slung her backpack over her shoulder. When she emerged from the cockpit, still cloaked in her faded hoodie and scuffed sneakers, the applause faltered. The passengers stared, their relief now mingled with a dawning, profound shame. She walked down the aisle, her gaze fixed ahead. The airport was already a frenzy of flashing cameras and shouting reporters. As passengers stumbled out, Richard Holt avoided her eyes. Isabella hurried past, her heels clicking a frantic retreat on the tarmac. A young college student stepped forward, her voice trembling. "Thank you," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Maya paused, met the young woman's gaze, and gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod. Then the Department of Defense arrived. A stern-faced officer, Colonel Eva Rostova, strode across the tarmac, her boots heavy on the ground. She stopped directly in front of Maya, her expression softening as she took in a familiar face. She raised her hand in a sharp, precise salute. "Welcome back, Night Viper 12. We thought you were Kia." The crowd froze. A collective gasp rippled through the onlookers. Julian Croft's face went white. Isabella covered her mouth in horror. Eleanor Vance turned away, her shoulders slumped in defeat. Maya returned the salute, her hands steady. "Night Viper 12? A reporter shouted. "Who is she?" Colonel Rostova's voice was iron. "A hero. That's all you need to know." The fallout was swift and brutal. Julian Croft was fired after a passenger's video of his mockery went viral. Isabella Vance's sponsorships evaporated overnight. Eleanor Vance's law firm issued a public statement distancing themselves from her. Their judgment, delivered in the insulated bubble of first class, had come back to haunt them in the unforgiving light of day. Maya walked away from the airport, melting back into the anonymity she had chosen. She moved through the chaos, a ghost reborn. Her call sign a silent, ringing indictment in the minds of those who had judged her, a quiet testament to the hero who had been hiding in plain sight.